Marcus, I had personally promoted him to lead the company. He was also my boyfriend. He had good business acumen and a knack for charming me, so I kept giving him more authority. But today, I had a sudden whim to visit the company, only to find he'd left our collaborators waiting. His excuse? To celebrate his first love's birthday. I couldn't help but sneer. Just 2 years of my indulgence, and he genuinely thought he was a power player CEO from a novel. If the CEO wasn't doing his job, it was time for a new one. So, where is Mr. Marcus? I sat in the center of the conference room, my gaze sweeping coldly over everyone. For a long moment, no one spoke. What, has no one bothered to answer me anymore? Marcus's assistant quickly replied, the CEO has a personal matter and will be a little late. The group representatives will be here in 10 minutes. How much later can he be? Marcus's assistant bowed his head, cold sweat beading on his forehead. Call him. Put it on speakerphone. Tell him if he can't be at the signing ceremony in 10 minutes, he doesn't need to be CEO anymore. The assistant quickly complied, his hands trembling as he dialed. Beep, 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 sorry, the number you have dialed cannot be reached temporarily. Please try again later. Sorry, I inwardly sneered, thinking of the anonymous email and the intimate photos of the man and woman. This wasn't the first time. It seemed Marcus truly couldn't stay. The room was filled with confusion. Mr. Benjamin spoke up, defending Marcus. Mr. Marcus might be on his way. Yes, Mr. Marcus has always been dedicated to the company. Perhaps something genuinely important delayed him. We've been negotiating the Sterling partnership for 2 months. It's a done deal, so whether Mr. Marcus is here or not won't make much difference, will it? The group representatives have always been friendly. Even if Mr. Marcus isn't here, it won't disrupt the important business. Many new faces were speaking up, likely people Marcus had promoted after his rise. They were clearly on Marcus's side. But at the moment, signing the cooperation agreement was more critical. Marcus's tactics and selfishness, I would settle with him later. Who else understands the details of the cooperation proposal? Everyone lowered their heads and remained silent. It seemed they were determined to protect their CEO. I spoke again, unconsciously raising my voice. The cooperation proposal has been negotiated for 2 months, and aside from the CEO, no one else knows any details. Are you telling me that you're all idle and incompetent, unworthy of your titles? Ms. Grace, it's not like that. An older company employee explained, Mr. Marcus and Mr. David met privately, and they made some adjustments to the contract details, so Mr. Marcus is the only one truly clear on the final draft. I scoffed, details may have been adjusted, but the overall framework remains unchanged. Is there no one else familiar with this collaboration? Everyone looked down again. At that moment, a man emerged from the corner. He seemed very nervous, his cheeks flushed, his hands hanging awkwardly by his sides, tightly clasped at the hem of his clothes. I know. He took a deep breath and said again, Ms. Grace, I'm responsible for document organization and data analysis. I know all the cooperation content from the formal meetings. I raised an eyebrow, looking at the man before me, a hint of surprise in my heart. He was tall, with a gaunt face and deep-set eyes, dressed in an old suit, and he looked like a worn-out corporate drone. Yet, his strikingly handsome face was unforgettable, like a deer lost among wolves, with an incongruous coolness. I hadn't realized the company had such a top-tier specimen. Print out the contract agreed upon at the last formal meeting and bring it to me. Understood. In 10 minutes, you'll accompany me to meet Mr. David. Understood. As for everyone else, return to your posts and perform your duty. I looked again at the flustered man. What's your name? Ethan. Ethan, a good name. I'll remember you. The man bowed slightly, the upturned corners of his lips betraying his inner joy. His earlobes were flushed, adding a touch of innocence. I couldn't help but muse, what an interesting man. Though appeared nervous and naive, he was incredibly meticulous and eloquent once he got into work mode. While I hadn't been involved in the cooperation project from start to finish, as the head of the group, I had seen countless contracts, big and small, and instantly understood the intricacies. Although I wasn't sure how much Marcus and Mr. David had privately modified the contract, the profit sharing and responsibilities of all parties in this current contract were extremely clear. Before long, David, the representative from the Sterling, arrived. While he was surprised by Marcus's absence, he was even more delighted by my personal appearance. I never expected Ms. Grace to personally attend such a small cooperation project from the Sterling. We are truly honored. No project is too big or too small. We are all partners, working together to make money. Mr. David's eyes crinkled into slits on his plump face. I've long heard that Mr. Marcus and Ms. Grace have a deep relationship. 4. Grace to personally oversee such a minor matter. It seems wedding bells are ringing for you too. I maintained a faint smile. Marcus's rapid ascent was largely due to my support, and I imagined he hadn't hesitated to take advantage of me, riding on my coattails. Marcus is merely an employee of my company. There are no wedding bells ringing. Mr. David, please don't go jumping to conclusions and disrupt important business. David offered an awkward laugh. I still covered for Marcus a bit. Marcus couldn't make it due to an unforeseen matter. I'll sign today's contract with you. Yes, of course. We exchanged a few veiled challenges, testing each other. Ethan, beside me, showed no sign of nervousness. When I was unclear about cooperation details, he responded immediately, neither humble nor arrogant, providing solid arguments. I looked at the refined man beside me, my good impression growing. I took the contract Ethan had prepared and handed it to David, who immediately scanned through it. Seasoned corporate veterans like us naturally understood the changes. During the signing, David tried to negotiate a bit more. Ms. Grace, although it's a done deal, since Mr. Marcus isn't here, there's no immediate rush to sign this contract. Perhaps we could wait for his return? I narrowed my eyes slightly, finally understanding why Marcus dared to stand us up at such a crucial moment. He must have offered David a significant profit, confident that the other party wouldn't change their mind due to his absence. Mr. David, business is business. If you have any dissatisfaction with the contract, you are welcome to bring it up. Marcus is just the CEO of Phoenix, but I am responsible for the entire Evergreen. If you have any concerns, perhaps I should call Mr. Christopher? David's face immediately changed. He was a junior branch of the Zhou family, not part of the main family. To put it bluntly, he was running errands for the main family. While he could earn profits, how much he got was ultimately decided by those above him. This smiling tiger, who managed to rise from a junior branch to the main family, was clearly capable. His first ability was his keen eye, knowing how to discern the pecking order. David's smile didn't falter as he promptly signed his name on the contract. Ms. Grace, you're too kind. These small matters hardly require Mr. Christopher's attention. It was my momentary confusion. You are, after all, the group head. No matter how capable Mr. Marcus is, he still works for you. Phoenix is naturally yours to command. I offered a faint smile, then stood up and extended my hand. Mr. David, it's wise to know when to play your cards. A pleasure redoing business with you. David left with a smile. While I didn't know how much profit my actions had cost him, that was a problem he needed to resolve with Marcus. I looked at the man beside me and handed him the documents. Well done. Our fingers brushed during the document exchange. I didn't react, but Ethan suddenly tensed up, his ears burning crimson. I chuckled internally. Are there really men this innocent these days? Or is he faking it? I had my own office at Phoenix. At this moment, I was sitting in my chair, resting my eyes. The anonymous email photo was still on my computer desktop. I knew the woman in the picture, Sarah, Marcus's first love. They met in college and were deeply in love. During their student days, they might have disregarded reality, believing that love alone was enough. But once they entered society, they learned the harshness of life. Marcus came from an ordinary family, with a seriously ill mother to care for. After graduation, he only wanted to work and earn money immediately. However, Sarah came from a better family and wanted to study abroad. Thus, their conflicts erupted, and they eventually parted ways. First love, studying abroad, regret, they really had every romantic cliché going for them. No wonder Marcus completely lost his composure when Sarah returned to the country. This wasn't the first time he couldn't tell right from wrong. Nor was it the first time these photos had been sent to me. A month ago, when Sarah returned, Marcus had promised to accompany me to a gathering, but lied, saying he had an urgent business meeting, and stood me up. Instead, he went to pick her up, held a welcome dinner for her, and didn't return home that night. Half a month ago, I found an earring in Marcus's passenger seat. He claimed it was a gift for me, and he had accidentally lost the other one. I didn't expose his clumsy excuse, but a faint unease settled in my heart. Until today. I had planned to take Marcus to a family gathering, to introduce him to my elders, but I unexpectedly received that email. In the photo, a man, elegantly dressed, held roses and passionately kissed the shy woman in his arms. Then, the two walked hand in hand into a hotel. Thinking of the assistant's unanswered call just now, Marcus was likely busy rekindling old flames with his first love. I knew that hotel, it was known for protecting client privacy. Yet, the photos still made their way to me. Marcus thought he was hiding it well, but he didn't realize I always had shrewd observers around me. His every move was brought to my attention. In truth, for the past 6 months or so, Marcus had frequently been pulling small stunts at the company. I wasn't unaware, I just didn't care. I don't dislike ambitious people. If he lacked ambition, no amount of my support would lift him up. However, my work is demanding, and the time I can dedicate to relationships is limited. Therefore, I prefer purity in my romantic life. Before I started dating, I had made it clear, if the feelings faded, just tell me, and I wouldn't make things difficult for him, ensuring we both maintained our dignity. After all, before Marcus, I'd had compatible partners, and with all of them, if it works, we stay, if not, we move on. Unfortunately, Marcus was insatiably greedy, wanting to rapidly climb the ladder of success through me, yet unwilling to let go of his first love, dreaming of having his cake and eating it too. There's no such easy ride in this world. I looked at the photos on the screen. Whatever the sender's intention, their goal had been achieved. Marcus's various actions had begun to displease me. Since he insisted on dancing on my bottom line, he would have to face the consequences of being cast aside by me. I, Grace, have always been proud and disdained lingering over a half-hearted and indecisive man. Marcus and I were done. Knock, knock, knock. Come in. I didn't lift my head, still resting my chin in my hand, eyes closed. You look a bit pale. I made you a comforting herbal brew. Just set it down. After placing the bowl, he still didn't leave. The office was quiet, and I could hear the man's nervous breathing. After a long while, he spoke again. Are you feeling unwell? Perhaps I could give you a massage? I finally opened my eyes and looked at him. A suspicious blush spread across the handsome man's face, making him completely different from the confident speaker he'd been in front of David earlier. Ethan was truly handsome. And I always had a soft spot for handsome men. All right. The man's long fingers pressed against my temples, his slightly rough fingertips rhythmically kneading. It truly felt good. You performed very well today. It was just my duty. The computer screen was still on, so Ethan, standing behind me, naturally saw it. I deliberately asked, what do you think of Marcus? The man finally betrayed a hint of emotion, not much. Oh? I curved my lips, signaling, continue. He's not worthy of you. If I still didn't understand the man's intentions by now, I would be far too naive. You want to take Marcus's place. Ethan hesitated for a moment, but then answered firmly, yes. Do you know that besides being the company's CEO, he's also my boyfriend? I know. So, which one do you want to replace? Boyfriend. Isn't CEO good? CEO is also good, but if I had to choose, I'd choose boyfriend. I took Ethan's hand, turning to meet his gaze. The man's eyes were deep, yet clean, his profound pupils reflecting only me. Ethan's looks were almost unfairly captivating. I had to admit, in this moment, I was shamefully smitten. I lifted my hand to cup his chin, and Ethan immediately leaned in closer. If you're obedient, I can give you both. When called, Ethan was in the bathroom, showering. I hated those lovers' drama plots, where people went back and forth over trivial matters. So, when I decided to replace Marcus, I sent him a text message. Just 4 simple words, we're breaking up. It wasn't a discussion, nor a test. It was just a notification. The only reason I hadn't blocked Marcus yet was because there were still some work matters to hand over. I'd had HR draft a notice to demote him to project director instead of firing him outright, considering he'd handled many projects over the past 2 years. Even if I was kicking him out, I couldn't allow my own interests to be harmed. I silenced my phone and placed it face down on the desk, continuing to browse information on my iPad. In just half a day, Ethan's life story had been delivered to me in detail. Ethan came from a very poor background, with an alcoholic father and an indifferent mother. When he was 7, his father made a mistake while drunk, falling from scaffolding at work and dying. His mother took the compensation money and left. From then on, Ethan became an orphan. The boy was incredibly diligent. Although he grew up in an orphanage, he excelled academically, earning scholarships every year, and his excellent grades led him all the way to Westwood University, even being admitted directly to a graduate program. After graduation, he switched between 2 jobs, eventually landing at Phoenix. Though the report was brief, I found a few highlights. First, Ethan was one of the underprivileged students I had once sponsored. Second, in his 3rd year of graduate school, Ethan had interned at Evergreen headquarters but wasn't retained. Afterward, he joined Nova, another company under the group, but a year ago, he suddenly requested a transfer to Phoenix. All 3 of his job experiences had been within companies I owned. I looked at the shadowy figure at the bathroom door, a playful smile on my lips. This man was truly interesting. When emerged, he was wrapped only in a bath towel. Though nothing had happened yet, he was suffused with a misty pink flush. Ethan was still flustered, standing before me like a mischievous student facing his homeroom teacher. I'm done showering. Ethan looked slender, but now, with his clothes off, he was quite impressive. His physique was robust, with broad shoulders and a narrow waist. His chest muscles rose and fell with his breathing, his six-pack abs were sharply defined, and the constantly descending V-line, all showcased his masculine charm. Yet, his face was too pure, his clear eyes held an untouched innocence, tinged with a faint melancholy. This contrast, merged within Ethan, created a unique beauty. He stood there, unsure of what to do. He looked at me, then lowered his head, his earlobes growing even redder. I wondered internally, how could he be so pure? Was it real or an act? However, his file indicated Ethan had a solitary personality, few friends, and no romantic relationships. Come here. Ethan cautiously sat beside me. I closed my iPad and set it aside, watching him with a smile. You want to be my boyfriend, and this is how you act. I haven't done this before. I'm afraid I'll hurt you. I chuckled softly. So, you want me to teach you? No. He immediately straightened up. I just feel like it's not real. The man stared intently at me, his eyes wet with a pleading earnestness, like a puppy finally finding its owner. He softly asked, "Can I kiss you?" I gazed at him silently. He wouldn't move an inch without my consent, waiting patiently. Quite polite. You may. Ethan closed his eyes, cautiously leaning closer, tentatively touching. It was almost a fleeting touch, barely a kiss, just lips brushing lips. I had experienced many passionate embraces, but none had swept me away quite like this one. Ethan's kiss was filled with longing and reverence. After pulling away, he secretly licked his lips, savoring the moment. His small gesture caught me off guard, making him even more flushed and flustered. I found it utterly amusing. Real or fake, I thought, as long as I'm happy. I playfully cupped his chin. Ethan, your kissing skills are terrible. I'll try my best to learn. Give me some Tim. Alright, I'll teach you. I initiated the kiss, gently nibbling his lips. Ethan became more aroused, instinctively wrapping his arms around me, deepening the kiss. Before entering, he still maintained his politeness. Ms. Grace, is this okay? My breath was a little unsteady. Calling me Ms. Grace at a time like this, isn't that a bit formal? Grace, is this okay? Ethan, I'm allowing you to be a little more assertive. As my words faded, I was filled with warmth. Ethan was truly inexperienced and clumsy at first, which caused me some discomfort. Yet, he was overly concerned with my feelings. The moment I frowned, he forced himself to stop, quickly offering appeasing kisses and gentle embraces. But I had to admit the man's talent in this area. After a few adjustments, I began to enjoy myself, then held him tightly as we ascended to ecstasy. Afterward, I couldn't help but compare. Marcus had always been rough in this regard, with an inexplicable dominance and aggression. Perhaps for him, it was the only time he could assert control over me. But back then, I indulged him, so I didn't care. At most, I considered it a playful intimacy between lovers. Now, however, I felt that a man with a service-oriented mindset was better. After all, my comfort was what mattered. The next day, I returned to headquarters for work. As soon as I stepped out of the elevator, my assistant reported, "Mr. Marcus has been waiting for you in your office." I wasn't surprised. After all, I had over 30 missed calls on my phone. After all, Phoenix Company's internet system had posted a personnel change notice yesterday. After all, the news of my contract signing with David had already reached him. I looked at the fidgeting Marcus, finding it somewhat amusing. After only a day apart, he looked quite haggard. Marcus seemed to have not slept all night. His eyes were bloodshot, his hair disheveled, and his expression weary. He was nothing like the refined, perfect, and triumphant figure I saw in the photos, rekindling old flames with his first love. I couldn't help but muse, honestly, Marcus isn't much to look at when he doesn't dress up. At least he wasn't as handsome as Ethan had been last night. Seeing me enter, Marcus eagerly came forward, trying to take my hand. Grace, what were you doing last night? Why didn't you answer my calls? And what exactly did I do wrong? Why did you suddenly reassign me to project director? I avoided his touch and calmly settled into my seat. I unhurriedly took a sip of the coffee my assistant had prepared. I made the reason for not answering your calls very clear in my text message. Marcus, we're breaking up. As for why I reassigned you, don't you have any idea? Although the Sterling partnership is just a standard collaboration for the group as a whole, it's an annual project for Phoenix. You were publicly absent at such a crucial moment. Do you know what that signifies? You neglected your duties, resulting in a work error. I'm punishing you judiciously by reassigning you. Is there a problem? Marcus's eyes were frantic as he quickly explained, Grace, yesterday I truly had a personal matter. You know my mother isn't well, it was a sudden emergency. And David and I had already discussed everything. Even if I was absent yesterday, it wouldn't affect the partnership or the company's interests. Grace, you're my girlfriend. Do you really have to make things difficult for me over such a small matter? I coldly watched his clumsy acting, finding the man before me truly unremarkable. First, we've broken up. You are not my boyfriend. Second, even if you were still my boyfriend, I have to be responsible for the group and handle it impartially. Marcus grew anxious, softening his tone, trying to placate me. Grace, I know I've been too busy with work lately and neglected you. You're just targeting me because you want to act a little spoiled, and I understand. You care about me so much, you'll put me back in my old position in a few days. You're still acting like a young girl. His eyes were filled with indulgence. Forget it, project director is fine. It'll be less busy. Didn't you say you wanted to travel to Japan? I can go with you anytime. I looked coldly at Marcus, who was talking to himself, and couldn't help but sneer. Marcus, your acting is truly terrible. I didn't want to waste any more time with him, so I directly slapped the photos onto the desk. Upon seeing the contents, Marcus's face instantly went pale. He stared intently at the photos, his eyes filled with disbelief. Let me reiterate, we've broken up. It's not a discussion, it's a notification. Marcus truly panicked. He knelt beside my chair, looking up at me, begging. Grace, listen to me, this is all a misunderstanding. Someone must be setting me up. She's actually, who she is doesn't matter. I coldly interrupted Marcus's excuses. What matters are your actions and choices. Marcus, we're all adults. Once you make a choice, you have to accept the consequences. I pushed away his hand, which was gripping the chair. Alright, it's just a breakup. It's not a big deal. Go back and do your job. Don't lose sight of what's important again, or you'll end up losing your job too. Marcus's eyes were bloodshot, resentment, unwillingness, and regret churning in his direct gaze. He coldly demanded, you knew yesterday. Why didn't you tell me anything? Why wouldn't you listen to my explanation? You just sentenced me to death. I sighed deeply. We had dated for 2 years, after all. I should let him die in peace. I didn't find out yesterday. I knew a month ago, the day she returned. Sarah, your first love. She's a very pretty girl. Since you've decided to rekindle your relationship, treat her well. Marcus erupted in a furious outburst, accusing, you don't love me at all. You just treat me like a plaything. You call me over when you like me, and kick me aside when you don't. Grace, I'm a son, a flesh and blood person. How could you do this to me? I found his accusations quite unreasonable. I had always maintained my integrity. I hadn't had a public relationship before, he was the first. If I didn't love him, I wouldn't have supported him step by step from the bottom to his current position. Nor would I have tolerated him rapidly climbing the ladder of success using my status. Yet, facing Marcus's accusations now, I couldn't recall the feeling of being smitten. Back when I was concealing my identity and doing rotations at the grassroots level, I unexpectedly met Marcus. He faced setbacks everywhere but was always full of passion. I still remembered his ambition, working overtime to create proposals that would satisfy the boss. I also remembered his umbrella always tilting towards me on rainy days, leaving his own shoulders drenched. And his unwavering respect and sincere affection, always eager to fulfill my every wish. Later, after he learned my identity, he boldly expressed his love and tried to charm me. I could see his ambition, but I didn't mind it. There's nothing wrong with wanting to climb higher. If he were content with mediocrity, I wouldn't have noticed him. But now, looking at Marcus's distraught face, I only saw a blur. I'm very busy, and the time I can dedicate to relationships is already limited. Since I discovered Marcus wasn't suitable, it was best to disengage promptly. Rather than the pain or grievances of betrayal, I felt mostly a faint discomfort. The discomfort of being offended. Marcus, you think too highly of yourself. Our relationship was never equal. It was unfortunate that he hadn't seen this, mistakenly believing that love gave him the right to do as he pleased. But even with love, he had tarnished that feeling. Color drained from Marcus's face. The assistant knocked and entered. Ms. Grace, Ethan is here to see you. Let him in. Ethan had changed into a tailored suit, looking like a runway model. I smirked. Clothes truly do make the man. My change in demeanor was quickly noticed by Marcus. His male instincts made him feel threatened. He looked at Ethan, indignantly stating, "It's you." He and Ethan worked at the same company, so they naturally knew each other. Ethan gave a slight nod to Marcus, then handed me the documents he was holding. But when Marcus saw Ethan's watch, he completely lost it. "Grace, what do you mean? How can he be wearing your watch?" I raised an eyebrow slightly, surprised Marcus was so observant. Ethan's watch was indeed mine. The man had a strong service-oriented mindset, and after a night of adjustment, he was no longer as shy. At least he wouldn't blush crimson at a mere touch. That morning, he had proactively helped me get dressed and blow-dry my hair, then picked up my watch, intending to help me put it on. Noticing he'd gazed at it for a few extra seconds, I casually gave it to him. I hadn't expected. "Since you're both here, I'll announce it directly. Ethan will be taking over as the executive CEO of Phoenix. Marcus, you'll hand over your duties to him." "No." The refusal burst out of him. I looked at him mockingly. "Do you think you have the right to refuse?" Marcus's face was contorted in pain, unwilling to believe he had been cast aside overnight. "Grace, you still love me, don't you? You're just so affected by me that you've been having people follow me, and you brought him here to provoke me. Grace, I don't blame you. You just can't stand me reuniting with Sarah, you're jealous, that's why you're using a breakup as an excuse. We love each other so much, we won't break up. Grace, I don't blame you for making a fuss or throwing a tantrum, but I'll wait for you. I'll make you realize who the right person is." Marcus stormed out of the office. I watched his retreating back and couldn't help but tease, quite the drama queen. Regarding work, I gave Ethan a few instructions, telling him to take charge. Whether he could firmly establish himself in the executive CEO position was up to his own capabilities. Before leaving, the man asked with expectant eyes, "Do you need me to accompany you tonight?" "No." My direct refusal seemed to hurt him. Meeting his puppy dog eyes, wet with disappointment, I unusually patiently explained, "I'm going back to the family estate tonight for an elder's birthday." "Understood." Ethan's eyes brightened with a smile, he was instantly appeased. "But I'm going to France for a business trip tomorrow, so I'll see you in a month." Okay." The man looked crestfallen again. I found it amusing how someone could be so transparent with his emotions. He was truly adorable. During my business trip, I focused on my own work, occasionally asking about the situation at Phoenix. Ethan, although he had taken the executive CEO position, was still on shaky ground, encountering obstacles and being constrained at every turn. It wasn't hard to understand. Marcus had been in that position for 2 years and had cultivated a loyal following. It wasn't difficult for them to create trouble for the new CEO. Marcus, driven by self-interest and using me as bait, naturally had opportunists circling. In truth, I knew Ethan's difficulties but deliberately refrained from intervening. Firstly, I wanted to see Ethan's own capabilities. Secondly, I was curious if he would ask for my help. After all, Marcus had been very clear about how to use me back then. He deliberately took me to meet partners. He acted intimately with me in front of subordinates. He even flashed a ring, hinting that wedding bells were ringing for us. I knew all this, I just didn't care. But was different. For over a month, he hadn't mentioned a single work-related difficulty to me. His occasional messages were merely greetings. "How's the weather? Are you eating well? Remember to add layers if the temperature drops. And, I miss you." Although they were ordinary greetings, they were truly special in my message history. On the eve of my return, I called him. He answered immediately. I had acted impulsively, forgetting it was the middle of the night for him. I felt a rare twinge of apology. "Still awake?" "No, I was asleep. Just happened to see your call." My eyes lowered, but I couldn't help but smile. Liar, he was clearly still working overtime. "I'm coming back tomorrow." "Really? Want to meet?" "Yes, I'll pick you up." "No need, wait for me at your place." "Which place?" "Your home." He seemed to hesitate. "What, you don't want to?" No, I'm delighted." Just as I was about to hang up, I heard a low murmur. "Grace, I miss you so much." The call ended long ago, but my face was still flushed, and I could even hear my own heartbeat. It was strange, I actually felt a little excited. The next night at 10 p.m., I arrived punctually at Ethan's doorstep. Although he was wearing loungewear, he had clearly showered, shaved, and meticulously styled his hair. A woody fragrance still lingered about him. It was a scent I liked. Ethan stared intently at me, involuntarily saying, "Grace, you look beautiful tonight." I smiled sweetly. "I should say I'm wearing exactly what you want to see." I was wearing a crimson slip dress, its clean cut and design subtly revealing my curves. The moment the door closed, Ethan embraced me tightly. After that, everything flowed naturally. However, I had underestimated the stamina of a man who had just broken his abstinence and been starved for a month. Ethan's performance, compared to his initial inexperience, had made incredible progress. If I hadn't known he worked overtime at the company every day, I would have suspected he'd secretly been taking lessons. In the throes of passion, I couldn't resist teasing him. "Ethan, what have you been up to behind my back this past month? How did you improve so much all of a sudden?" The man's face was flushed, his ragged breaths fanning my cheek. He stammered, "Every day I thought of you, wanting to make you comfortable, wanting to satisfy you." I cupped his face and kissed him. Then, he became even more excited. Although it had been an exhausting night, I surprisingly slept soundly. It was almost noon when I groggily woke up. While reaching for my phone, I accidentally nudged something on the floor. Closing my eyes to pick it up, my hand brushed against a box. Curiosity compelled me to open it, revealing a collection of interviews and reports from business. There was only one protagonist. I smiled and put everything back exactly as I found it. Whether it was genuine or calculated, at least I was happy right now. I casually grabbed one of Ethan's t-shirts and started looking around his apartment. It was a small, two-bedroom apartment he'd bought used, and despite its age, it was decorated very warmly. Although his profile mentioned he was reserved, I felt he really cared about creating a home. The balcony was filled with flowers, plants, and even scallions and garlic shoots. On the spotless coffee table sat fresh fruit and a delicate tea set. The sofa was adorned with knitted seat cushions and plush throw pillows. At that moment, Ethan, wearing a bear-themed apron, was cooking in the kitchen. He saw me standing in the living room and offered a gentle smile. "Just a moment," he said. "Lunch will be ready soon." I nodded. He truly exuded the perfect husband vibe right then. Ethan was a good cook. Even though I usually focused on eating smaller, more frequent meals, I ended up having 2 bowls of rice. Now that I was back, I proactively brought up work. Ethan smiled. "Don't worry, I can handle everything." I tentatively asked, "Is there really nothing you need my help with?" Ethan said seriously, "Grace, I can do this." I smiled knowingly and said nothing more. The next day, Ethan and I went to Phoenix together. I was used to being swift and decisive. That very day, I fired Kevin, whom Marcus had personally promoted, and then reassigned several of his trusted aides. The shrewd observers who had been watching from the sidelines immediately understood the situation and no longer dared to remain optimistic about my relationship with Marcus. In just one morning, several executives came to pledge their loyalty, which also made Ethan's work much easier to carry out. During lunch, Ethan said, "Actually, I could have handled it myself." "You certainly could, but it would have been more of a struggle." I proactively picked up a piece of fish for him. "I'm your girlfriend. Helping you is only natural." Ethan blushed again, his expression as he lowered his head to eat the fish as if he were savoring some divine delicacy. Unfortunately, what was supposed to be a warm lunch was abruptly interrupted by Marcus. He burst into my office, disregarding the attempts to stop him, and seeing Ethan and me, his mood instantly soured. He stared intently at me. "Grace, that's enough, isn't it? Your punishment for me should end here." I know I was wrong. I've already ended things with Sarah. Please forgive my momentary lapse in judgment, okay? I swear, I'll be loyal and devoted to you from now on, and I'll never have divided loyalties again. Watching make his vows, I found it nothing short of ridiculous. This man was insatiable, afraid of losing me completely, yet couldn't let go of his first love. I heard he had deliberately arranged for Sarah to visit him at the company before, just to provoke me. He only backed down after learning I had gone abroad. This confession now was quite ironic. I put down my cutlery, my expression calm. "Marcus, stop making a scene. It's undignified." Marcus was distraught. He challenged, "Grace, you don't even like him that much, do you? Otherwise, how could you bear to leave him here for a month, ignoring him completely and watching him get picked on?" First, I trust Ethan's capabilities. I believe he can handle all of this. Second, I slightly raised my head. How do you know I haven't seen him? On my neck were still the faint marks from last night's intimate moments. Seeing this, Marcus's eyes instantly welled up. "Grace, how did we end up like this? Isn't this all your choice? I didn't do anything wrong." Marcus continued to argue. Sarah and I were college classmates, we did love each other. But don't you have exes too? And, and you knew I was straying in our relationship but didn't remind me. You didn't make a fuss, didn't react, just watched me make mistakes, and then cruelly abandoned me. Or perhaps, you had your eyes on him all along, and all the marginalizing me and creating difficulties at every turn was just to clear a path for him. Grace, don't you think you're being utterly unreasonable? I watched Marcus's hysterics, remaining perfectly calm. Marcus, you were half-hearted and indecisive, yet you blame me for not reminding you? Don't you find that ironic? Secondly, I had the standing to be assertive, and even more so, the right to decide who runs the company. Get out, director. Marcus glared at me, filled with resentment. Grace, is there really no chance for us? I already informed you about the breakup. What, are we on different time zones? Fine. Marcus's face was filled with menace. Grace, you're ruthless. This is my last warning, you'll regret this. My own expression finally hardened with menace. Marcus, I absolutely detest being threatened. I didn't get to where I am by being scared off. As expected, Marcus took a radical turn and sold Phoenix commercial secrets to a rival company. When I received the news, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. That idiot. After everything with Sarah, he still hadn't realized he was surrounded by informants? Or did he truly naively believe that people were watching him before simply because I loved him? In the business world, there are no permanent enemies, only friends driven by self-interest. I accepted the convenient favor from the rival company, and naturally, I would compensate them in other way. As for Marcus, my assistant respectfully asked, Ms. Grace, how should we handle director? Do we need to call the police? I had kept him on before because he still had projects that needed to be handed over. Firing him abruptly would have meant paying an N+1 severance package. Although it wasn't a lot of money, every little bit counts. Now that he had knowingly broken the law, it saved me a lot of trouble. My expression calm, I said, handle it impartially. I didn't hide any of this from Ethan as I was doing it. He was sitting beside me, carefully repairing that watch, consulting its manual. If it's broken, just get a new one. No. Ethan refused immediately. This was the first gift you ever gave me. A gift? A used watch. I ran my hand through Ethan's soft hair. If all goes as planned, Marcus won't be appearing before me again. Selling commercial secrets, if the circumstances are severe, carries up to 3 years imprisonment or criminal detention, plus a fine. However, since it was an attempted crime, he should be able to settle it out of court. He'll just end up with a criminal record, and the company can use this to fire him. I'm afraid finding future employment would be difficult for him. I looked playfully at the man engrossed in repairing the watch. Satisfied, Mr. Ethan? Ethan was the one who had sent me anonymous emails back then, using the nickname AG. He finally looked up and met my gaze. What does AG stand for? He gazed at me silently, finally letting out a soft sigh. Admiring. Grace, I love you. I've loved you for many years. Ethan's eyes held genuine devotion. That year, when you accompanied the chairman to our school to provide aid, you chose several of us underprivileged students for sponsorship. I was sitting in the audience, adoring from afar you standing on the podium, my heart skipped a beat. I was keenly aware of the distance between us, but I couldn't control my heart. You were the distant moon in the Kentucky. I knew I could never reach you, yet I couldn't help but draw closer. After graduation, I went to intern at Evergreen headquarters, but they said you were at a subsidiary company for research and rotation, rarely returning to headquarters except for important meetings. I then followed you to Nova, only to hear you were in a relationship with the CEO of Phoenix. Initially, I was just curious what kind of man could be worthy of you, hoping it would make me give up completely. But after coming to Phoenix, I realized he was nothing special. Grace, he wasn't worthy of you. Ethan lowered his head uneasily. I admit, sending you those photos was self-serving, but I just didn't want you to be deceived. Someone as wonderful as you deserves to be cherished and loved with all their heart. Grace, if you mind my previous actions, I will. I smiled, teasing him, you will what? I'll go back to my original place, quietly adore from afar, and no longer bother you. But, when we start and how we end is not up to you. The man's moist eyes stared intently at me, filled with unease and apprehension. I smiled and took his hand. At least for now, I don't want it to end. Ethan excitedly hugged me, and I felt a slight dampness on my neck. Without and his loyalists' deliberate obstruction, Ethan quickly settled into his position as CEO of Phoenix. Although he was somewhat reserved in front of me, he was serious, responsible, and extremely meticulous when it came to work. Several times, his project proposals were even significantly better than Marcus's. Moreover, he never flaunted our relationship. Even though everyone knew implicitly, he always led by example, working overtime with everyone and taking every meeting seriously. One day, Ethan and I went to survey a group subsidiary. As soon as we exited the parking lot, we were stopped. It was Marcus. In just a few months, he had changed so much. Not only did he have a bloated figure, but he also had jowls and a beer bell. Why, although he seemed to have made an effort to tidy himself up, he still appeared sleazy. Actually, Marcus had tried to reach me many times during this period, even registering numerous phone numbers to call me, but I had blocked them all. The gap between us was too vast. If I didn't want to see him, he had no right to appear before me. Now, he had pulled strings and called in favors to learn my itinerary, which was how he managed to intercept me at this moment. Grace, I was wrong. Please, just give me one more chance, okay? I truly made a mistake. I've completely broken up with Sarah. From now on, I'll be wholeheartedly devoted to you. Even if it means being with Mr. Ethan, I don't mind. I chuckled inwardly. The audacity of this man, to think I would go back to an old flame? Although I hadn't deliberately paid attention to Marcus, my gossipy friends would always tell me about his situation as a humorous anecdote. Sarah had only been willing to get close to Marcus again because of his CEO status. Once she found out he was fired and facing legal troubles, she ran faster than anyone. I heard she was already looking for an eligible bachelor who'd studied abroad for blind dates. Seeing my hesitation, Marcus displayed his former gentle expression. Grace, do you still want me? The before me had neglected himself, and coupled with the torment of hitting rock bottom, he no longer possessed his former handsomeness. At a glance, he was simply unremarkable. Looking back now, it was simply that my love and money had given Marcus a flattering filter, which made his past self seem extraordinary. I glanced at Ethan beside me, then realized that after seeing a top-tier specimen like Ethan every day, Marcus naturally seemed crude by comparison. Ethan silently clenched his fingers at that moment, his breathing becoming very light. I deliberately teased him, Mr. Ethan, what do you think? Huh? He hesitated for a moment, then slowly said, I don't want that. Ice me. Lead. Neither do I. Marcus was dragged away by security personnel. He was still hysterically yelling. Ethan, what makes you so great? You're just like me, nothing more than her plaything. Ethan, one day, you'll be discarded too. He said more, but I couldn't make it out. And of course, I didn't care. Ethan froze for a moment but ultimately said nothing. I spoke up first. Just say whatever you want to ask. Grace, will we break up? My gaze deepened slightly. That depends on you. Ethan was, after all, a CEO, and he now carried some of the confidence of a person in power. His gaze was resolute. Grace, from the day I met you, everything I've done has been to get closer to you. If my actions determine how long I stay by your side, then I will be cautious in my words and actions at all times, never making a single mistake. Won't that be exhausting? No. Ethan's eyes were full of devotion. Because loving you is the best thing. The smile in my eyes deepened. I look forward to it. Ethan seemed very happy, his eyes curved into crescents, and his joy almost spilled over. He gently pulled away from my palm, then intertwined our fingers. As we looked at each other, he had a happy smile on his face, and his clear eyes reflected only my image. I didn't deny the flutter in my heart at that moment was for the man before me. Honestly, I didn't know how far or how long Ethan and I would go, nor did I know if he would become another Marcus. But I knew that right now, I didn't want to let go, and I was relishing every moment. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section. Feel free to share your opinions, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.